Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. And, Star Wars The Last Jedi, man, we've talked about this movie a lot on the channel. I think a lot of you probably grown sick and tired of talking about it over the course of the last 10 months. But this new thing is interesting because they just released, where they previewed a comic, or the comic's coming out, of The Last Jedi. And you thought it might clear a couple things up. And they kind of did, but in a really bad way. Luke's death is confirmed still for the comic, because obviously why would they fuck with canon on that one right now? Let's keep everything going the way that it should be. But unfortunately, that's not the way that fans still want it. They don't like the end of it. Anyway, it says here in Screen Rant, Luke's death is even better in Star Wars The Last Jedi comic. Yeah, even better. Okay. It says, now, The Last Jedi may have been given some fans a Luke Skywalker death they never wanted, but once again, the comic book adaptation may have given those disappointed fans what they were missing, getting to hear what Luke was thinking as he finally joined with the Force. Now, I'm not going to lie, that is something I find to be a little bit fascinating. I would kind of be curious to know what Luke was thinking in that final moment when he was sitting on that rock in Octu, the grumpy old hermit having just Force projected himself halfway across the universe in order to hollow battle Kylo Ren, giving the Resistance time to escape, because that seems about right. But apparently now it happens. And it says, in the world of Star Wars, that means dissolving into nothingness, leaving only a shawl behind. Even the metal arm disappeared. Anyway, even for those who enjoyed The Last Jedi and thought that Luke Skywalker's death scene was perfect, the added detail in the comic book adaptation from Marvel is hard to resist, adding even more dramatic weight and heartbreaking fan service. While audiences may view it as the end of Luke's journey in the story so far, that isn't how Luke felt when he realized his time was up. For the aging Jedi Knight, following the path of Yoda and Obi-Wan was the start of a new adventure. And of course, that kind of always harkens back to Peter Pan, saying death is the last great adventure. But at the same time, I mean, it's still such a low impact moment in the movie. Oh no, I'm on this rock. Oh no, no, now I die. I fade away. But my robe and remains. You know what? The death of Jake Skywalker doesn't necessarily do it for me. You know what I mean? Anyway, so the Last Jedi comic is ostensibly exactly what it claims to be, a retelling of the events of the film in comic book form. But perhaps proving that novels, graphic or otherwise, are often more rewarding than film, the series has done the same even for a film as divisive as Episode 8. The best example being the chance to read what Leia was thinking before her space flight, and now what passed through Luke's mind in his final moment. So they're going oh, so we can now tell you what was going through Leia's mind as she was being sucked out into the vacuum of space, and then Supermaning her way, Carrie Poppins her way back to the ship, right? Just God, and so here we got Luke on the rock, looking kind of like a midget on that top panel a little bit, and he just looks over at the sun. It's and so it ends as it began. Which, I'm not going to lie, I kind of thought the same thing, right? I thought the same thing. So he looks off and he sees the two suns, right? I'm oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought seeing the movie. And I'm just kind of I was a little heavy-handed on the symbolism there. A little heavy-handed. It says the additional insight into Johnson's film may be taken as disconnected or even non-canonical, since it's coming from a different set of creators, hopefully better creators. It's true that this expansion of the film's story is different than in previous ways The Last Jedi comic addressed the loudest criticisms, like giving Admiral Ackbar his last words or showing the deleted scene of Luke learning of Han Solo's death. Some might also argue that fans aren't supposed to know what Luke was thinking as his joining with the Force approached, since the movie chose not to reveal it. See, here's the thing. Admiral Ackbar should not have died. They should not have blown up that whole thing. Admiral Ackbar should have been the one to go out in the blaze of glory, not Admiral Holo that no one cared about. Luke learning about Han's death would have been something that fans wanted because we wanted some closure. We wanted some closure. We never got any closure. We didn't even get that damn little funeral scene that was in the book. We got nothing, but hey, I mean, these little scenes are kind of cool for the comic, right? Now, some might also argue that okay, now I talked about that one. Anyway, it says Mark Hamill is still trying to understand Luke's story. Then getting the added insight of the Jedi's final internal monologue can't hurt. The scene itself plays out almost exactly like the film. Luke says his farewell to Kylo Ren, collapses from the exhaustion of his force projection, and gazes out at the setting sun with tears in his eyes. As the second sun emerges, fans will almost certainly make the link to Luke's Tatooine home. It's a beautiful way of showing Luke's life has come full circle in a way as he departs the living to become one with the Force. As he says, Jesus. Again, I thought it was kind of heavy-handed, to be honest with you, when I saw it. I'm like, oh, I see the connection. Oh, maybe like, oh, geez. He shouldn't have died. He should have been like, they should have looked at the thing, and that would have been like his revival. His resurgence to the Force should have been like looking at those suns, like how hopeful he was when he gazed out at the twin suns of Tatooine the night before his entire life changed. And this again would be hearkening back to that moment, the moment where Luke was realizing his true, that while he may not understand his true potential just yet, he may not understand where things are going to go just yet, what the Force has in store for him just yet, but looking back at those suns, hearkening back to the moment when he was, an 18-year-old vapor, a moisturizer, the moisture farms, and back on the deserts of Tatooine would have filled him with hope, and to know that that he's returned to the Force and he can now, he's done his good. He allowed the Resistance to escape. He can now come back and help lead them. But no, they want to kill him because, I don't know, money, nonsense, stupidity, lazy writing. I mean, the list goes on and 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 on. Now, the glimpse into Luke's mind offered by the Last Jedi comic confirms that he has made the same link to his earliest childhood memory. But the moment is much more to Luke than just a memory of his first life, a distant home. We should note that, as an established earlier in the issue, these text boxes are really Luke's inner thoughts spoken only to himself, saying here, by the light of two suns, before stepping into a larger world. Yeah, okay. It may seem like a subtle distinction, but to the most devoted and invested Star Wars fans, it's sure to be a rewarding one. The fact that Luke is framing his death as a departure into a larger world, just like his first introduction to the Force itself, takes much of the sting out of his passing, while also confirming that Obi-Wan's earliest words to him haven't faded from memory. Some fans will be quick to point out that Jedi's death is not being a real death is a given and a foregone conclusion by now. While it's true that Obi-Wan and Yoda returned to speak with Luke in the form of a Force ghost, the skill has never been shown as a universal gift, and Obi-Wan is no longer sending Luke any messages at all. And most importantly, knowing that Luke could still appear as a Force ghost doesn't make his death any less heartbreaking. Perhaps the comics writer, Gary Whitta, has changed these small lines of dialogue. Well, Gary Whitta is also not very liked by a lot of Star Wars writers, Star Wars fans, because of how he handled like Aftermath. His writing is pretty garbage. Adding these little internal moments don't really add much to me, right? Instead of just retconning the entire scene, like, no, he's not dead. He just evaporated to go to 7-Eleven to get a pack of smokes. Like, that would be better. Finishes up here by saying, in death, Luke may become more powerful than Kylo Ren could ever imagine, but more importantly, Luke's final moments alive actually saw the Master become the student once more. Here's hoping that Luke's first steps into this larger world prove as a game changer for Episode 9, as it did the first time around, for the sake of the rebellion, at the very least. Not the sake of the rebellion. It's not the sake of the rebellion. It's quite literally the sake of the franchise. They have got to rectify this. They have got to find a way to rectify this. If they don't, then it's just bad. If they don't, then they've just made a grave error by not retconning this. I part of me thinks they're going to retcon this because we know that the story group, we know that the writers group, we know that they have no play in the movies. We know this. And so as a result of that, who knows where we're going to find ourselves. I just think it's kind of ridiculous at this point. It doesn't make the death even better. It makes it even kind of worse, to be honest with you. It's like, oh, we're really going for the symbolism. And it's like, yeah, no, thanks for reminding me that you really fucked the whole thing up. Appreciate it. Thanks, Rian and Gary. You guys did amazing work. Not really. Not really. All right, though, but those are my thoughts on this one. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. First, if you've made it this far in the video and you want to leave a comment, put metal hand in the chat so I know you made it. That way we at least know it exists somewhere. And if you haven't already, please thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, and check back often for more content from me. In fact, if you want to support the channel, one of the best ways is patreon.com/mundane Matt. What do you got to lose by tossing out $1 a month? What do you got to lose? Helps me out, and you get to keep this channel afloat. I will talk with you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.